Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of 10 Forward Weekly. I am your community manager in shadows, apparently. Give me like 2 months and I'll be in a new space and there'll be good lighting, I promise. But today I am joined by two invisible people who you can't see because neither of them have working webcams because I'm the only one who lives in the current modern era of technology. Ladies and gentlemen, systems designer Jeremy Randall and ship artist Ian Richards.
I still waved.
Why?
I did too.
I love you both. Welcome, folks. How are you both doing today?
Good. Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Good. Well, we have
Happy to be here and not in all the meetings that filled the 100% of the rest of my day.
Same.
I've spent almost all. Oh, they're very loud. Okay, I will turn them down slightly. I have spent all day working on getting a panel ready for Star Trek Mission Chicago, which the schedule went out today, so you guys can see that. But that's basically my busiest time of year because I have to usually make like 3 videos and 14 images and.
There's a part of me that's very jealous that you're going, but another part of me that's like, what are you, crazy?
Yeah, no, I'm going, but then since we have the new house in LA, I'm going to the house in LA to be by myself for a week until we're sure I didn't catch anything.
Yeah, that's smart.
Yeah. Yep. Will the stuff revealed in the panel be shown next week to the public? Yeah. There was actually going to be a press release right after the panel with all the stuff, and we will be live tweeting the event as well. And I think we have permission to stream it. It's not going to be an official stream, though. It's most likely going to be me putting my phone on the table next to me and streaming the panel that way, just because that's what we could get permission for. So we'll be kind of janky, but you'll still get to see it live if you'd like. So yeah. Zaphash Thought says I won't be by myself.
Is that a threat?
I know, right? All
Hey,
right.
Tumor Boy's rating us.
Yay! Thanks, Nick.
Not over all the art watchers.
I know he had a great stream. People were saying it was like ASMR watching him.
Yeah. You can get caught up in just watching the art happen.
Oh, it's great. When Hector used to do it, it was super cool. I need to get him doing that again.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah. You could do it too if you want, Ian. If you have ships that, well, I don't know. If you have ships that are remasters, we can get permission to do it.
I think there's probably some coming down the pipeline towards me. Yeah.
Let me know if you're interested.
Yeah, I will do.
All right, so Tuber Boy says ASMR, DMCA, whatever. So before we get into the ship, let's address the elephant in the room. Jeremy, we announced this morning that we were going to be changing the way that Dilithium rewards work for reputations, so that you, instead of receiving just plain Dilithium, you receive vouchers that you can use to buy reputation equipment, which we're calling them Dilithium vouchers, but really they're just vouchers you could exchange for equipment. There's nothing really Dilithium about them.
I mean, they one for one replace the Dilithium costs.
Yeah.
So that's why they include that term in there.
Yeah. Sorry, Orange Carol, is that what it is? Bruce Carroll, you've asked that question 4 times. I don't know the answer. I don't know what's going on about the shuttle station tab slot. We'll post it on the forums and we'll see if we can figure something out.
I think I'm aware. We lost a button.
Oh, okay.
And we figured it out. We're putting it back in as soon as we can, as soon as we get the build approved.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
Sweet. So talk to us a little bit about this change. This is basically what these rewards were always meant to be, right?
Well, yeah, yes. The design intent behind the Tier 5 rewards for reaching Tier 5 in any reputation was congratulations, you finished the progression track. This was before Tier 6. Go buy yourself a piece of equipment. Go get yourself something nice from the reputation itself. So the amount of rewards that you get, including Dilithium, or as well as marks and I think expertise as well, was intended to be used to get yourself a set piece of your choice from that reputation. If we had better tech, we probably would have just flat out given you a set piece of your choice as the mission reward, but our system just doesn't sort of support that well, not in a way that we thought was user-friendly at all. So we just gave you the numerics and let you go buy what you wanted. This was a long time ago, though. Like, this was when the reputation system was first introduced, which, boy, I think 9 years ago, maybe even 10. It's been around a long time.
No, that was what? That was an early system.
Reputations, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I did not know that.
Very, very shortly after fleets, because they leverage the same tech under the hood.
Okay.
Yeah. So we changed that to reputation dilithium because we noticed that there was a small minority of players that were essentially, they'd found a loophole to earn themselves a lot of dilithium ore in a short amount of time, using these rewards, churning through characters, all those sorts of things. It's not exactly, it wasn't exactly having a huge impact on our game-wide economy, but was also something we just didn't see as wanting to get out of hand. And the original design intent behind the rewards could be kept intact by changing it to reputation dilithium vouchers. So you can still use those rewards to get yourself the reputation gear, which is what we wanted you to do. So design-wise, intent-wise, it's 1-for-1. I can totally understand how players would not see it that way. It's just, I want to make it clear what our perspective is. What our perspective is on those numerics.
Yeah, and it is also a way to jump on the dilithium exchange issue a little bit, right?
A little bit. Like, I think that in the long run, if we are able to make any meaningful improvements to the dilithium exchange, they're going to have to come in both ways. They're going to have to reduce the sources or control the sources, as well as introducing new sinks. I don't think that it's no mystery that we need more sinks. We need better sinks, and that's the area that we would like to focus more on. But
we've got a couple of potential sinks in the works, yeah.
Yeah, we do.
Can't talk about them today, but I just wanted to remind people once again that they're coming.
I think changes might appear as soon as within the next month, if I remember correctly. I don't know. Our release schedule has actually changed a little bit recently, so I might be out of touch.
Yeah, we'll keep you guys updated on those when they happen. And so one of the
I do want to make I want to make a couple things clear. One is that this is only for the rewards that you get from the tier 5 completion.
Yep.
So there are still rewards you get incrementally as you level up, doing your daily projects and all that within your reputations. Those are not being changed. This is just for the big chunk of tier 5 rewards. Also, just to kind of spin it a little bit, show you the bright side. We were previously giving you dilithium ore, which then you had to spend several days refining. You don't have to refine reputation vouchers. You can use them immediately. So we're saving you a little bit of time, maybe?
Yeah. So I had a bunch of people in chat are asking. First of all, let me address this really quick. Scotty H7, I understand you're upset, but not explaining a bug in chat and just demanding fix of it is not going to help. Please post about the bug on the forums if you haven't already, and I'll make sure to follow up on it. Somebody asked why not just add an entirely new currency. That's kind of what this is. They're again, we're calling them dilithium vouchers, but they are just 1-for-1 replacements for the dilithium that you can only use to buy the reputation equipment.
Right.
A couple people were asking if it would be possible to spend these on fleet vouchers or do some sort of 1-for-1 exchange there. What would you think about that?
Possibly. I'd have to look into it a little deeper and see if there's any economic impact that would have. I'm not entirely opposed to the idea from a conceptual level, but I wouldn't want to make any promises. There was another request that I have heard, which is to add the option of being able to spend these reputation vouchers in the stores that are attached to the reputation systems. I'm also open to that idea. I don't know how to do that cleanly, so we have two options. We can either try to come up with some new tech to make it clean, which is a potentially big ask from our engineers or programmers, or we do it kind of messy. And I'd rather not go with the messy approach. The messy approach is essentially duplicating every store entry that currently exists and charging a different currency for the duplicated entry. Yeah. I don't like it. I don't think that anybody watching this understands that they probably don't like it as well. We'll see. We'll see what we can do, though.
I don't like it.
It's bloaty. It just feels like we should be able to come up with a smarter solution.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Miss LaFay, the reason I asked to post on the forums instead of going to support is because while support does contact us every day with issues, myself and our QA team are looking at the forums every day. And so if you go to support, if it's something like that's specific to your account, like your character is stuck somewhere, but not every character in the game is stuck somewhere, you should go to support, and there it's going to be easier for them to help you. But for something that's a bug that's affecting the whole game, always post it on the forums because that guarantees that someone will see it. They may not respond. We don't always have time to respond to every single bug, but it will get it on a list. It will get it in front of QA. QA will get it to the people who can fix it. So it's the best. I tell you to do it that way because it's the best way. Just to make sure you give as much information as possible. If you post a forum thread that just says "shield's broken," there's nothing we can do for you. We need the exact things that were going on when it happened to you.
Also, please understand that what you consider broken, we might not consider broken, just because it's actually a scale. It's like a sliding scale of what is just not quite working according to expectations versus something that never works at all. There's a big range.
Yeah. So Tech was asking about webcams. I think everyone has a webcam, but it's their choice whether or not they want to use it. And so there it is. All right. Well, that sounds like a lot of good talk about the rep vouchers. Should we show off a ship?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
Can I answer one more question that I saw in the chat that I'm definitely not reading because Kale told me not to?
Yeah, definitely.
Somebody asked, I'm sorry, I missed the name, whether or not the dilithium economy on consoles is a different beast than PC. And yes, I have to say it absolutely is. There's a different exchange rate, which is one of the main reasons that we haven't put the vanity shields onto console yet, is because if we put them on at the current prices, that would be very disingenuous. It's not a one for one. We would have to recalculate things to make it fair.
And then it would be weird because people would see one side or the other would feel like they'd been had.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So who wants to see a ship? I saw a bunch of yeses in chat already. Jeremy, you want to see a ship?
I raised my hand.
Oh, good. Ian, you want to see a ship?
Now.
Okay, cool. Great. The ayes have it. Let's look at a ship. Hello! So this is the Marion class. I believe in the show it was the USS Curie and also most recently the USS Mitchell. And this is going to be the new Infinity Lockbox ship starting next Monday, I believe, on the 5th. Whenever First Contact Day drops, which is next Tuesday, sorry.
Yeah.
Here she is. So, Ian, this is your baby. I know at least In took this. Did you model this, or did you just intake it?
Yeah, Tobias did most of the work on it.
Okay.
It turned out amazing. Looked even better than the show. And then I did some final touches, and I brought it in game. And then I did all the effects for it as well.
Nice.
And I did do a ship that I hope we get a chance to see momentarily.
I don't think we're doing that one today because that one's not getting announced this week.
No, there's something this ship does that I think I know.
Yes,
part of
that
this
thing.
ship. Yeah.
That thing.
Yeah.
Yes, I know what you mean now. Sorry. Yes. So this is in the show. It's kind of a pancakey guitar pick. How does that translate into 3D modeling it into the game?
Well, thankfully, really easy. The ship is symmetrical, though, like left and right are the same, which is great. So we only actually have to model half of it, and then we can just duplicate the other side, which is always a good time.
Mm-hmm.
The top and the bottom are really similar to this ship as well, and the ship really has mostly surface details. So the actual big shapes are simple, and then we can go in with and fine tune all the little panel lines and grooves and window slots and that kind of thing.
Look at those panel lines and grooves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways, it's a lot like actually sculpting in real life. You have a set of tools, and you have surfaces that you want to carve out channels in or add more material somewhere to bulk it up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Apparently, I've got the visuals of the competitive engine on here.
You do, yeah.
Well, you guys are getting a little bit of a preview of the ship, but that's okay.
No, it's not okay. Wait, yes, it is.
Yeah, it's totally fine.
Swear to do it.
That's what we're here for. I'm so used to typing show dev UI, not show game UI. Okay, here we go. Now you can see. Let me turn her around so y'all can see the kind of cool shuttle bay in the back. Someone was asking about scale. This is a pretty big ship, isn't it?
Yeah, it's I think it's in the 800-meter length, something like that. It's also the ship is as wide as it is long, so it's gonna take up a lot of space for sure.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Are we
Yeah,
talking?
That shuttle bay in the back is as big as some of our ships.
Okay, there you
right,
go.
Yeah, that shuttle bay is like notably larger than like the Galaxy's shuttle bay on the saucer, which is a pretty big shuttle bay.
Yeah.
It's huge.
I mean, I
Absolutely.
think you could fit a Defiant in there, couldn't you?
Yep, absolutely.
Two? Side by side? Maybe?
No.
Tight fit?
Yeah.
Diagonal?
But how many?
Maybe stacked?
But how many book ships could you stack on top of each other in there?
Like 16?
300.
492.
The ship actually got updated in that episode of Discovery, where it came in at the end.
Mhm.
So Thomas is actually working on some of those final touches to modernize it. This version was based on what we saw previously. So
Yeah, so this
as the
version
show
is-
evolves and we get new images, or they update the models that they have, we're gonna try to continue keeping them.
Yeah,
up to
I
date.
saw new like spotlight locations on the rear name, right?
Yeah, there's
Registry.
some spotlights. There's some glows on the nacelles, the Sard collectors specifically.
Yeah.
Yeah, more ID names visible on the bottom, but it's largely the same.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's mostly just that we didn't know that Mitchell was going to be appearing, which is one reason
Right.
why we also didn't.
Well,
name
this is
like the Mitchell class or anything like that.
yeah. This version that was modeled by Tobias and Ian together was very true to like the season 3 version, and then we got season 4 update basically.
Just people are asking for a
Scale reference.
for a scale reference, so you get it. All right, so there you go. There's it next to the Discovery. Let me just. You guys can kind of see that.
Cool. Yeah. And for those that aren't familiar with the Discovery's scale, Discovery is a little bit shorter than a Sovereign.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I think that's right. So this is a big ship, but it's not like an Enterprise J ship.
Right.
Yeah.
It's also not very bulky because it's not very tall. It doesn't have a lot of decks, but it's
It just occupies a lot of space.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a salty day in chat because it's been a salty day in the forums. But just to answer the question, Time Skipper, I don't believe it's pointless to get a pretty ship on console just because you can't zoom in on it and see some of the details. Most PC players can't zoom in the way that I'm zooming in right now. The closest you can get is like that maybe. This is a special dev command that I've got to fly the camera around and get this close to it. Speaking of which, are there any cool details on this thing that we might not have seen in the show that we can point out?
I'm gonna say almost all of them, right?
Yeah.
Like until this latest episode, there were not really any close-up shots or any shots that let you rest and see it in a lot of detail.
Well, and even in that one, if I remember correctly, you saw basically the bottom of the ship, so you don't get a lot of the
just the
overhead.
bottom, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on. Like over the windows, there's actually big glass panels on top of the windows, like double windows.
Oh, nice.
It's on the top of the ship, but you can see them.
Yeah.
In the grooves. There's lots of pinstriping, lots of weapon ports. On the note of detail, like we always try to make the ships more detailed than the default view, which is like say zoomed in all the way when you're playing. And if we have more detail than is visible there in those situations where the ship flies between your camera and your ship, it'll be really close, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or if we do a cutscene where your ship zooms in, right, or warps out or warps in or whatever, you're gonna get a chance to see your ship closer up, and we don't want there to be like the ship to be lower quality in
For
those
sure.
moments when we're really showing off the ship.
Yeah, and now that we've got those, ship videos that I'm making every time.
Right. Even though, so more detail the barrier, I'd say.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if we have enough detail, we have the chance to use ships in missions and stuff as like a ground scaled version, right? Like you see in Earth Space Dock.
Hmm.
A lot of those ships are just that's just what we use in space. We didn't add detail to them. We didn't have to for them to
We
be
used to. I'm glad
exceptional.
we
Right, we
started
used
making
to.
ships better. But
Yeah. Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
Captain Wallace 84 says STO's inquiry class is much more detailed than the one in Picard. That's actually not true anymore because they used our model in Picard season 2.
Yeah, our
So
model
it's
is now
exactly
their
as
model.
detailed.
It's the most accurate ship in our game.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, other than the other
Yeah.
4 that we made.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. MC Stu, no unique bridge for this guy. As always,
we don't have 32nd century bridges
Yeah,
to put on these.
the new unique bridges are something we'd only make if there was a mission for it. So, like, if you watched Nick's stream before this, you would see that he's making a new Yorktown bridge because that will appear in an upcoming thing. But we haven't had a call for a 32nd century bridge because we haven't spent any time in the 32nd century, and we don't have the time or manpower to just be making bridges for the sake of making bridges anymore, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. All right. Well, shall we put her through her paces?
You want to know anything about it before we do? Or
I
just
do. Yeah.
trial by fire?
I was pulling up the stats so that you could tell me
right.
things. So here are the stats. So this is a. Where does the name Marion come from, by the way?
Mirian originates from a what are they called? Eagle Moss booklet,
Mhm.
but they work very closely with CBS as well. So I'm sure that they didn't just pull that out of thin air.
Yeah.
Somebody must have given that probably a pre-production note or something like that.
Yeah,
Okay.
Eagle Moss has been known to when they figure out a ship's class name, they do work really closely, and like it has been repeatedly like even if there isn't a class name originally in production,
Mm-hmm.
working with Eagle Moss, CBS will figure it out with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think this is one of the cases where that's where it came from. We're gonna stick to it. So.
And apparently, it's also a ship in the post Voyager novels. That was a foreign nacelled ship, according to Trexpert. So that's cool.
Oh, cool.
So that might have been where they got inspiration for it. It sounds about right.
Just gonna switch us over to the other side so it's easier to see the UI here. So first of all, this does come with 32nd century weapons, like all of our 32nd century ships.
It does. Yep.
And we've got our 32nd century cloak because all ships in the future can cloak.
Yep.
This layout here obviously is not the default layout that comes with the ship. I tried to put together a decent build for it based on stuff I have in my inventory. We'll see how well that works out.
Mhm.
So tell us a little bit about Command Science Dreadnought, Jeremy. What's the role that you expect for this ship?
So the Mirian, the Curie in particular, and later on the Mitchell, to some outstanding focus, is like a support rescue ship. It's a type of ship that even in canon and mentioned on screen is the type of ship that they give like relief missions to. So they'll go out into the edges of the frontier and help members of the Federation or maybe non-Federation species with whatever they're having trouble with. Support and relief is their call. So in terms of what that translates into in STO, which, like it or not, is a game that has a lot of combat, means that we were going to focus this ship on being able to fill a support role in combat. That primarily falls to science ships in our game, although engineering ships can also fill the role pretty well, quite well. But that also kind of informed the choice to make it a command vessel, which is all about team support, ally support, all those sorts of things. We chose to make it a science dreadnought, mainly for the inclusion of a hangar bay. We basically only have two science type ships that can have a hangar bay. There's Dreadnought and the multi-mission science vessel. Due to the ship's size and bulk, we chose to go with the larger, slower, a little bit more ponderous ship of those two, a little more defensive. So we go with the Dreadnought. Honestly, I'm not entirely happy with the Dreadnought terminology because it sounds pretty offense based, but class is what it is.
Yeah. And that actually leans pretty well into, I'm going to pull up the tooltip here, the Universal Console. Let me pull this down a little bit so you guys can see it, which is reactive radiometric shielding. Tell us a little bit about what this does.
So this is honestly the inspiration design started from the fact that the primary ship in Discovery's canon is the USS Curie, named after, of course, Marie Curie, who kind of discovered the medical applications of radioactivity.
Yeah.
So we decided to go with a support based power that uses radioactivity or radiation, um, both to damage and to heal. So this has some unique stuff going on with it that I'm interested to see how players play with it or how they use it. Essentially, you build up a charge of radiation in your shield, which causes incoming energy damage to react, and that reacts in two different ways. One is that your nearby allies will receive a heal, and your nearby enemies will be damaged. Um, Also, the effects that Ian came up for this are fantastic.
Yeah.
We'll see that
It's
in a bit.
very pretty.
Yeah.
Uh,
The neat kind of twist on this is that the amount of damage that is done to enemies and the amount of healing that is done to your allies is based on how much of that incoming damage you resisted. So the more resistances that you're running, both from this console and from other sources that you might be able to stack potentially pretty high, you can potentially get that effectiveness as high as you're resisting, essentially.
nice. And
Yeah.
somebody pointed out it's got a 5-second recharge on this, so you can keep it up pretty regularly.
Oh no, you can't. That's a bug.
Oh.
I still need to fix that. Sorry.
Okay.
It will have the standard 120.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Sorry to burst your bubble.
No worries. And the trait is scientific bulwark. Bulwark. What does this do?
Yeah, this is kind of leans into the same sort of thing with damage resistance, but this is gives you additional science skills when you use abilities that boost your damage resistance. This is a class of powers that we haven't hooked to enhancements in this way in the past, but it should be very straightforward. Any power that modifies damage resistance in a positive way on yourself or on a target will trigger this trait, giving you these additional science skills, which can stack and last a decent amount of time if you outfit your ship with the right assortment of damage resistant skills. You should be able to keep this up at least with I'm guessing 3 to 4 stacks is where most people will run if they build into this. Getting the full 5 stacks with 100% uptime, I don't really see happening all that much,
Yeah.
but we'll see.
All right. Let's look at her stations really quick, and then we'll show off the shuttles, which I see everybody in chat wanted to know about. So we've got
Yeah.
Lieutenant Commander Universal, Lieutenant Tactical, Lieutenant Commander Engineering/Command, Commander Science/Command, and Ensign Science.
So this is one of the first ships we've done in a while that kind of double dips in its
Yeah.
spec, giving you additional options for how you want to use those spec abilities. It is very much a command ship.
Yeah.
With those two extra
command seats. That's neat.
Yeah, total of 7 like individual ranked seats
Yeah.
that you can use for command abilities.
Very cool.
I don't expect anybody to use actually all 7, but it gives you a lot of options.
Orangitis wants to know what the difference between a science dreadnought and a multi-mission science vessel is.
It's generally size category and maneuverability. Dreadnoughts are larger and slower, and multi-mission science vessels are not.
There you go.
It's honestly a pretty soft categorization, but those are the broad strokes.
All right. Well, let's summon some friends, shall we?
Yeah.
And take a look at them, because they're pretty. What am I doing? It's down here. They come out a little bit like playing Tetris. That might be something we need to have somebody look at. But here are.
And it was weird how they came out the top.
Yeah.
They're supposed to come out the back.
Here are the 32nd century shuttles.
Yeah.
So tell us a little
I
bit
made
about this,
these.
Ian.
Yeah, these are just the shuttles that we saw from the show. And again, we got a nice close-up shot of it in the last episode as well at the very end.
I assume
Yeah.
after you'd already made this and done all the work.
Yeah. Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, but these are, again, it's a shuttle. There's not much to say about it, and
Does cool stuff.
nice, simple, bulbous shapes in the show, so
Mhm.
try to keep things the same.
Well, tell us about what these shuttles do for you, Jeremy.
Okay, well they have some weapons and they do stuff.
Okay, cool. Thanks for everybody.
They
It's been a great stream.
They have lasers and things, right?
These are pretty comparable to a lot of other pets in that they have one forward weapon and an aft weapon. The aft weapon, though, is omnidirectional, which will help out with their damage output a little bit. The unique thing that these ships can do is that they have the structural integrity manipulator, which is a dual mode ability, and it rotates back and forth between the two modes. It has an offensive mode that will drain some hull from one nearby foe, and then it switches over to defensive mode for the next activation, which will restore hull to one nearby ally. And both of these check hull percentages of nearby targets to sort who will be most impacted by it. Either the damage goes to the highest hull and the healing goes to the lowest hull.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
And it essentially will activate this about every 5 to 6 seconds, swapping back and forth between those two modes. It makes a really pretty light show if you have enough targets nearby.
Sweet. All right, well, let's go and take this out to our gala and see how we do with my build that I made. I have never bothered you, Jeremy, to make me a build the way I used to bother Jet to do it. I should do that.
Yeah. It won't happen. You can bother me all you like. You might check with some of the folks in QA. They might be interested in being a part of that, though.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Penthala says build. You haven't put enough quotation marks around that, buddy. I do. Okay, what do I have that's a matched set? Great, put all that on the ship.
Yeah.
It looks like Jet gave me multiples of this console. There must be a reason. Put them all on the ship.
This one's gold. Looks good.
Yeah. Emerald 361 wants to know if you Jeremy are following the feedback threads on the forums about the Intel powers revamp and if there was any more work coming on those powers.
For the time being, the only things that I'm able to address are bugs that are coming out of any feedback. I don't know that I've... Oh, no.
Every
disconnected.
time. It only happens when I'm streaming. It's got to be something to do with me streaming.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Anyway, but I can't say that I've seen the threads on Reddit, but Christian's been doing a really good job at funneling me anything that pings as a high priority. Mike, you've sent me a couple things as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, at this time, any additional fixes are in the realm of fixes and not additional tuning or modifications to functionality.
Hey Jeremy, since I've got you and another one of the classic folks is in chat,
Yeah.
why don't we remove cooldowns on ISE entirely, Jeremy?
Why don't we?
Why don't we? Yeah.
So you play something else already?
Yep.
Come on.
It's not that we don't want you guys to get your DPS checks in, but and I will continue pushing to try and get Jet's test map fixed and on live and on console so you guys can do that. But we don't want everybody jumping into the same map over and over for the rest of time. Maybe during special events when we are focused on Borg stuff.
Well, even then, like ideally, everybody would try out new things once in a while.
Yeah.
I understand that people use it to test builds, to use it to judge their DPS, and that's I don't hate that. But you're also getting rewards. You're also playing with other people. You're also
before somebody
participating
comes in
in
with the
MMO.
argument immediately of, well, what if you just made a version without rewards so we can run it over and over? Oh, somebody already did.
Yeah. Yep. That's a fine suggestion, but it's bloaty, and it's I'd rather have an actual test map than just have something like that.
So what is
I don't know.
I don't
it
actually
is
know
really
what the
more of a
problems-
content question, to be honest.
Yeah.
So I'm only a little bit aware of it.
What is the problems that still exist with Jet's map that we can't move it over to holodeck and such? I
It
don't
has some
actually know.
performance issues. So that's one thing that we have to see whether or not we can solve, because while the things used in the game to track your DPS through the contact system that's in the game are extremely clever, they're also not very performant. So we have some problems there that if we had a bunch of players playing the map, we could have some problems. I think there were some others. I'm sorry, it's been a long time since I looked over her design docs for it. But I don't think that that's the only problems. I just remember that being one of the... Oh, we can't turn off rewards on a per map basis, which is kind of a sad thing to say, that we can't turn off rewards in an MMO. But they're so ingrained in the idea that when an enemy is defeated, you get something for it.
Got it. So we would have to stop it so people can't farm the map.
It's for testing. It's not for mastery farming or XP
Yeah.
farming or whatever. But we have a hard time overcoming that right now, and we need a little bit of technical help to fix that.
All right. Well, I'll keep bugging people about it. See if I can get Keith excited about it, and then it'll get done.
Ian in the chat, Ian the Hermit does point out, yeah, we did that with the Foundry. That is correct. But that solution for the Foundry is not something that we can put in the rest of the game because it would affect the entire game.
Yeah, the Foundry was basically on a different server entirely.
It was, it was very different, and being able to make global changes to it meant it could happen. We don't have the same sort of options. We need a new solution. That's all.
Ian, I love this console effect.
Oh, thanks.
It looks really cool.
Maybe we should keep these with 5-second cooldowns for the stream.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, just for the stream.
So it is the shielding, the shield bubble with the sort of moving grid lines over that you're seeing, but
Yeah, you
also
can just use it right now and see it, just without everything else.
the coolest part of it, in my opinion, is the healing beam part, which I don't know if you're going to see. Maybe you can get
Probably
a little
not on
closer to that
here.
bent than the ship.
Summon some pets.
Oh, you're right. I haven't sent the
Launch
shuttles
your-
out.
Launch the fighters, and they could be affected by it.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is. I see it.
It's that like really soft laser beam
Oh, that's
thing.
cool.
Yeah, do the green.
Yeah,
I like it.
I think it's great.
Someone is suggesting that we add an environmental effect for the test map that removes the amount of rewards you are rewarded. I think that would be more complicated than you think it is, because it would have to detect what rewards everybody got and then remove them. And then you would still get the reward and then lose it immediately, and it would be really confusing for people.
What they're saying is actually not all that far disconnected from what we would eventually need to do. It's just there's no just to that statement. It's actually pretty complex, getting a system like that to work reliably.
Yeah.
Including there's a trick with mastery right now that Starship Mastery XP for your ship is not rewarded until you leave the map. But that's something that ends up cached on the server side, and it happens whether you log out, whether you transwarp, whether you complete the mission, regardless. And it's all pretty deeply ingrained that it just does that. And we built it that way so that we would make sure that you didn't lose anything no matter how you left the map. But now it turns out that we need you to be able to lose that stuff when you leave the map.
Someone in chat suggested having enemies on the map disable instead of destroy, and whether that would help.
Kind of, but it's another alternative that doesn't lessen the
as simple
workload.
as that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have to basically convince the producers that it's worth it to put a bunch of time into this thing, which is again why I'm like, let me get Keith excited about it, because Keith, our lead programmer, is the kind of high-end player that a lot of people in chat are, who really cares about the numbers. And
he does DPS parses. He likes to tell us about them every once in a while.
Yep.
Yeah. It has admittedly been a little bit backburnered, that whole test map, because Jet's no longer on the project, so it doesn't really have an owner, primary advocate. But maybe we can change that. It's all a matter of shifting around priorities.
Yeah. Augie with another just, and I think I can answer this one. Just make rewards attached to the dialogue with the Devrak at the end, and then if you warp out, you get nothing. Cool, but then what if people don't warp out?
Yeah. Or I mean that kind of, it can have an effect on players inadvertently. Asking about the inertia turn rate on this, or what? Augie just said no turn rate inertia.
On what?
I don't know.
All right. Well, here's the stats for you, folks. Yeah, shush. No one cares.
So because these numbers aren't exactly what we put in the blog, I'll also give
Yeah.
you a few of the hard numbers. So it's got a hull mod of 1.45, like all the 32nd century ships, very, very high hull, low shields. Even for a science ship, its shield modifier is only 1.1, which is still kind of high, but it's low for a dreadnought. The new ship inertia turn rate. Oh, you just want to see what it is. I see.
Well, I have shown it to you.
Inertia of 65, turn rate, base turn rate of 7.
Yep.
So as I said, it is kind of a larger, bit ponderous. You can probably make it dance, but you're going to have to work a little harder.
Somebody was saying they don't like sliding in space, and I don't understand. The thing I love about my ship is that I can drift.
Get you that lock trajectory.
Yeah. I'm working on getting me that enhanced lock trajectory. All right. Well, folks, that is pretty much the ship. Anything else either of you would like to say about this beauty?
Man, nothing.
I had a really good time working on the effects.
All right.
It's not super often we draw inspiration from not the show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's definitely cool. There's some details on it. If you want to fire it off, if there's an enemy nearby or anything.
I think all the enemies are dead.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it still does the cool shield effect when you fire it off.
There are some minor details. For those of you who are familiar with a cloud chamber, it's a way to actually visualize radiation. And in Discovery Season 3, we see that when Discovery pops out the warp core, there's a brief moment where you see these little wisps of like clouds appear all around the warp core before it blows up. We've been trying to bring those details in, so when your shield actually triggers, the whole area that's affected will actually you'll see these little wisps appear all over the place.
Yeah. I remember when I originally requested the effects for this console, I asked for like a big pulse, and I'm so glad that you just took some artistic freedom and made it even prettier than that. Yeah, so it's not just this loud light show filling up the whole 5 kilometers.
There's already enough going on. So.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Cool. Somebody was asking about whether it's okay to use reshade with the game. I don't actually know what reshade is. I saw Thomas retweet about something about it. So
it's basically a client-side post-processing thing.
Oh, yeah. Totally if it's client-side, yeah, that's fine. Go ahead. That's not a TOS violation as far as I know.
Right. Yeah, it's totally cool.
Yeah, you're good. Until somebody tells me different, but I don't think I'll ask that question just so they won't. Cool. Well, all right. Awesome. Well, we'll hang out and.
Well, in case anybody here missed it, this will be in the Infinity Lockbox. Oh, you put it in the stream title, so how could they miss it?
Yeah. And and in the social post announcing it. Just because I wanted to cut off the what if it's a C-store ship stuff that always happens before the stream if I don't say specifically where it's going. Yeah. All right. Well, folks, we'll have a few more minutes for questions here. Otherwise, but while we're doing that, I'm going to look for somebody to raid.
Oh, somebody mentioned vanity shields. Do you want to show off a couple of those before we go?
Oh, yeah.
How they look on this ship?
Yeah, let's do it.
And while you're getting that,
colors, the black sections you see are tintable sections as well, with some of the default trim patterns. So just like other ships with the two-tone, they give a lot of control.
Sweet. Well, let's go straight to Slime Devils then.
Yeah.
Actually looks pretty cool for once. Someone was saying for April Fools we should force everyone to have Slime Devil shields on. That would be hilarious. But I think people would be mad at us. No one on the panel could say anything about a Dauntless remaster, because if we were doing one, we couldn't tell you, and if we aren't doing one, we can't tell you.
Mm-hmm.
I finally answered that question that's been posted 400 times. Any idea when the Protostar will be coming? No. And the reason for that is it's a little bit different licensing with Prodigy than anything else we're working on, because we are a rated T game, and so Nickelodeon might look at our stuff and say, oh, we can't let you use our stuff. And so we're hoping that won't be the case, but we have not gotten an answer on that question yet, and we can't start work on anything until we have an answer to that question.
There was a question from Evil Mark, which I tried to answer in text. I guess you didn't see the text. Yeah, that's been fixed. The Agony console, Agony redistributor passives have been fixed internally. So that'll go live soon, hopefully.
Bozeman Titans, of course, looks great. This is not the right map for this. Hold on.
There were a couple of questions, actually. I think I saw 3, talking about like essentially what boils down to vanity weapons. It's still a topic that has interest in my heart. It's very difficult to figure out a good way to do it, because the visuals for your weapons are baked into the weapon, not like they're not global settings like a shield overlay can be. So yeah, I think that vanity weapons would be awesome as well. I just don't know that we can actually do it in a way that a player would expect it to function.
Yeah.
Now, making just like audio or visual variants of existing weapons, that's not outside the realm of possibility. That's a question of return on investment and all those sorts of business decisions that have to be made before we spend our time making anything. Which is not to say it won't happen. It's just we got to find the right way to do it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Some people were asking about. Oh, there was something that I could answer that I was listening to your answer and I lost it. Yes,
no.
Redshift is playable on console now. It's fixed. You should be good to go.
Yes, to answer Dan, Drain's Hull is just another way of saying that it deals damage.
Doesn't it then also heal you?
No, not in the same power, not at the same
Okay.
time. It separately then does a heal on the next activation.
Got
I
it.
guess that actually is that's some weird terminology. Now I'm tempted to just change it.
Yeah, I was gonna
It's
say
healing
drain
physical
is-
damage, or radiation damage. I forget which.
All right, there's the Titan's shield.
It looks great.
Yeah.
Better lighting. Yeah.
Yay! I'm just gonna keep putting shields on this thing. Let's try the Zat Vash. Always
It's like
looks kind
camo.
of camo-y on these ships. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the best place to report bugs on console? The forums.
Yeah. The 32nd Century Shuttle is not going to be a playable ship. I saw somebody ask that earlier. We are not making a player version of that at this time. And I think if we did, we probably would have spent. Well, Ian would have been asked to spend a little bit more time on the
Shuttles.
modeling.
Yeah. If we ever
Also,
if we
we
ever
saw
do
it.
them.
We actually saw its nacelles move on screen as well, so we would probably try to deliver that if it was a player ship.
We'd do it right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe that can be our first
just a
swarm
quicker
ship.
one, so.
Swarm ship. Give me a swarm ship, Jeremy. I want a swarm ship.
So do I.
Yeah. I hate when we get super close on something and then it's complicated enough that we have to take a break and that break becomes forever.
Well, it's an old game dev expression. I think it's from elsewhere, but I've heard it in game dev a lot that the last 10% takes 90% of the time.
Yep.
Like you get something really close to done, but yeah, spend most of your time finishing it.
Yeah. There have been some discussions over the years on how to try and fix, quote unquote, the Ryza day-night cycle and get night back. I don't know how those talks have been going because I haven't heard anything about it this year. But I can follow up with Scott and see what he says. Can we get patterns to show over vanity shields? I don't think we can because I think it's a different material. Ian, do you know about that?
There are ways.
We have ways.
Generally, no. We have
because
to rework the order in which things are applied to your ships.
Right, because vanity shields right now are actually an effects overlay, not a material. Right. Well, an effects material.
Yeah, it's using a different pipeline.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's
There
one of the
are
reasons that
ways,
vanity
but
shields
it's-
work with every ship, and not every ship has every material.
Ooh, Dyson looks really good on this one. Look at those pink rings. Makes it look like one of those ancient ships from a show like Stargate.
Or from our game.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Looney Welsh wants to know if there's been any discussion on adding elite difficulty to random TFOs. I know we initially didn't do that on purpose. I don't think our thoughts have changed much on that, Jeremy, have they?
So the original thought process was we don't want people to have a negative experience with elite difficulty, which typically is better if you know who you're flying with. But that thought process also came about when the game was frankly harder. It's not as hard anymore, and I think more players can participate in and succeed in elite content today than they could 4 or 5 years ago or whenever it was that we introduced random TFOs. So yeah, maybe it's okay to do now.
You're
We
trying
didn't feel like it was back then. We
to
didn't
get
want
2
people
tactical officers. How many do you
randoming
have right
into
now
elite
for your ship?
content. It was too likely for
Thank you
for
for
negative
those, by the way.
interactions.
Oh, no problem.
I don't think the game's in the same place now, though.
Yeah, I can see that. All right. Well, I have found us someone to raid. I think they seem cool. They're wearing a bunny hat, so you know. So I'm gonna get the raid started up. And folks, Jeremy, Ian, thank you both so much for joining us. I really appreciate it. And thank you everybody for hanging out for another stream. We will have a stream next week, despite the fact that I'm flying to Mission Chicago the next day, because we kind of
Because you're crazy.
because I'm insane. Yes, but we will see you all next week. Bye bye everyone. Bye bye now. Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye bye. Now we gotta wait like 7 seconds for this raid to finish spooning up. I probably shouldn't have started the bye bye everyone's. Okay,
Bye-bye.
bye bye everyone. Bye bye. Bye bye now. Bye
Bye,
bye.
everybody.
Bye.
Thank you guys. Bye.